However, the weight of it took her by surprise. At first, Bam thought it was only filled with pretty orange flowers, but as the sound of the crashing waves died down, she could now hear the sound of a soft wailing. Bam crouched in the wet sand, careful not to let her dress touch the water, and there, in among the marigolds, was the beautiful face of a baby. Her eyes were golden like the flowers that surrounded her, and without thinking, Bam lifted the child to her chest and cradled her until she hushed its cries. She tried hard to locate the child's parents, but eventually found that they had drowned when their boat went down at sea, and that she had no remaining family. Brilliant Aunt Maude took the child to the Indian adoption authorities, but when she tried to hand the baby over, the little creature clung onto Bam's shirt and started bawling. Bam knew in that moment that she wasn't able to leave the darling girl behind, and so officially adopted her, but without telling her great niece. When she arrived home with more than just luggage, Lydia was less than calm. "A baby!" Lydia cried as Brilliant Aunt Maude crashed through the stage door of the theatre, dragging her case with one arm and cradling a baby in the other. Lydia took the child from her, her mouth flapping open and closed, unable to believe she was actually holding an infant in her arms. Lydia had always dreamt of having a child one day, but her hectic job had kept her awfully busy and led her down a different path. Now in her mid-30s, she hadn't dared to hope of raising a little one for a long time, but the moment she caught sight of this sleeping cherub, her heart swelled and very almost burst with joy. "Yes, I'm quite certain that's what it is," said Bam as she removed her coat, happy to be home. "Of course I know it's a baby, but whose baby is it? And what's it doing here?" The baby began to wake in her arms and, like a natural, Lydia began to coo and rock her back and forth. "Well, I thought you could look after her. I've named her Marigold, after the flower she was lying in when I found her." And that was the end of the conversation. Lydia knew there was little else that could be said to persuade Brilliant Aunt Maude otherwise. Marigold was now part of the family. Next came Mabel. When Marigold was 2, Bam had been called away to Portobello Beach in Scotland. Her younger cousin Bartholomew lived there, and he was not well. In fact, he was not very well at all. After Bartholomew's wife passed away, Bam was the only family he had left, and Bam had managed to get to his bedside just in time for Bartholomew to place his baby daughter in her care before he closed his eyes for the last time. His passing was only eased by the little girl he left behind, a little girl who looked so much like her father that Bam felt a lump in her throat every time she looked into her eyes. Bam wiped tears from her cheeks as she carefully passed the bundle to Lydia. "You did the right thing," Lydia said, but as she looked down at the sleeping child, she caught sight of a flash of red underneath the blanket. She uncovered the baby's head, and the brightest red curls pinged out in one great burst. The little girl wriggled, then opened her eyes to reveal they were a deep green. Lydia was lost immediately. "Does she have a name?" "Mabel. Named after a character in my cousin's favourite musical." "As in Mac and Mabel?" "Exactly." Bam smiled. And that was the end of the conversation. Lydia knew there was little else to be said. Mabel was now part of the family. Last but not least, Morris appeared. He was the only child who found Bam before Bam had the chance to find him. One cold November morning, when the sun had barely risen, Bam made her way from their home above the theatre, through the corridors, past dressing rooms, past the stage, through the foyer, and out in front of the building. She often liked to do this. When no one was around, she would nip outside to look up at the theatre that she'd worked so hard for. She would stand with her hands on her hips and revel in the pride that rose all the way up from her tummy to where it would shine out of her face in a smile.